Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Wednesday, September the 12th, 2018, and I'm with my gal pals, my posse, Lisa Flamino Rush and BZ Rieger. And yes, we are in North Carolina, and yes, we are okay. I did do a brief little video earlier about the storm, but so everybody's already gotten an update from me about that. And we don't have any rain here at all. So unless we have some internet instability, which we have had a little bit of,
yeah,
we should be fine. Okay. So, the last time I don't know if this was, I can't remember if this was the last time we talked or the time before. We decided then that we wanted to talk about building the new. And I won't forget this because Lisa said, yeah, she kept hearing that song, "This Is How We Do It," in her head. And I love that. So I'm convinced that part of this, well, not part of, all of it, all of building the new, I used to be really mad at myself for jumping to the fantastical, but I say let's jump to the fantastical because that's where it's at, I feel like. I don't know. I'm ready to get over the fact we all got to get over the fact we're creator beings, man.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, I don't even know how to start this. I've just had such a lot coming in, and I feel the energy runs really quick on me, especially when we start talking about creating.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between, BZ, we've talked about this before, there's a difference between manifesting and materializing. How do we want to talk about this? Because I could go on in a couple of different directions on this myself.
Well, I'll throw out just a tagline maybe to the building the new, and this is how we do this. So you said it's exciting. You jump right to the fantastical, absolutely, and you may want to cut the sandbags, the dross bags, the linear bags, the limit bags, the doubt bags, the excuses bags, the what I wrote a bunch more down here, the look in the choices bags and check those over. Look in the focus bag, check those over. Some you may want to cut, some you may want to keep those. The trust, the commitment, the judgment. So absolutely, you materialize it because there is no out there until you put it out there. It's an inside job, so this is how you create all of it, and then you can materialize it because you give voice to it because it matters and it's materialized, right? So it's all the things we've talked about, played with. But your voice sounds different if you have a frog in your voice, or you just woke up, or maybe you've been drinking too much, or maybe, you just scalded your tongue on coffee, or, there's all different ways, right? So that's kind of coloring your voice, right?
Right.
So those words that I just put out there, and, if you're going to the fantastical, in the balloon and you're going up, sometimes you want to cut the ballast. And so what is your ballast? What is your weight? What are your sandbags? What are those things? And if, come on, you got to be realistic because we're going to build a new earth, and, fantastical, that's just airy-fairy shit. Okay, well, you might take a look in that bag and see what you're doing, because you know what? This whole thing, and that's, so you can look forward, and absolutely, that's where I play. But you can also look backwards and look at how everything here came to be, because we all created it. And And it changed moment by moment by moment by moment with all the creativity and all the intricacies and all the fantastical. And yes, before we created this, this was the fantastical result of all of this. Because it's pretty sublime and magnificent, all this stuff that we created, in its joyfulness, in its horror, in its transparency, in its deceit, in all of it. It's amazingly delicious. It really, truly is. And I can stand in the zero point and say that, having experienced a whole plethora in all of those ranges of all of those words in all sorts of down and dirty ways. You know? And now doesn't say you have to go into all those avenues. I'm just saying that when you look at what's currently right here, it was all created. So the new that we're playing with, that we're talking about, that this is how you do this. Well, this is how you do this, because we're already experts at it, because we keep doing this all over the place, and it's different in all different ways. So to go from a very linear and fantastical all at the same time, you materialize, you literally, figuratively, demonstrably, in a real tangible way, create the new earth from the inside, from what you're focusing on, from what you're dreaming about, from what you're visioning, from what you are, playing and scripting and imagineering. Okay, you do all of that. Some of your actual, tools, your carpentry tools, your sawhorses, all that kind of stuff can be actual what you know in the real world in your mind right now about sawhorses. Are great, but they're also going to be the tools of these words and the energy frequency of these words, because those are what energy frequency is, what a nail and a hammer are. One is something that gets driven into something, which is a piece of wood and holds them together, and you keep doing that, and all of a sudden you don't have just a bunch of 2x4 sticks. Oh, I got a house. Well, that's pretty fantastical when you were looking at the pile that was sitting on the ground before, that was just a bunch of 2x4s and some sheathing and maybe some, 4x6s or whatever for your rafters and this, that, and the other thing. And how'd you get that to look like that? And well, that's pretty cool. You put some paint on it and throw some perennials around it, you got butterflies around it. Now you got a magical little house when you just had some sticks over there on the ground. So that's an analogy that's simplistic, but that's how you move from one to the other.
Well, I know that this is coming in really big. It's coming in pretty big here, so I'm going to get it out. I've said it before somewhere at some point. We've talked about, I think I've talked about before about Nassim Haramein and his thoughts in regards to how we project our reality through the black hole that he is convinced exists in between the physicality of the two chambers of our heart. Now, I don't know from all the physics of that, but I do, it makes an awful lot of sense to me when I couple that puzzle piece with getting into the heart first, out of the head, dropping down into the heart. And there's been a lot of puzzle pieces put together from Nassim, Greg, Braden, in regards to marrying thought and emotion. And I'm having this feeling that as it is projected through the heart chakra, that is how the mechanics, if you will, if in a linear fashion of somebody well, how does that work? Well, right. For me, I'm suspecting that is at least somewhere on the realm of possibility, plausibility, and potentiality there. That is indeed how it works. It's more like because I feel it in my field, that it runs through me in a channel, and I've had that experience I shared with you guys, and I thought it was a vision. and it started in my sacral area, and it whooshed out of me. And over the last 2 years, really, well, really more just like a year, since I kind of was seeking all of this out. But in the last year and a half, I guess, really, since I've come in contact with BZ and Lisa, and really been going within now.
Yeah.
I really feel like that's where it comes from, because it's emerging out of us.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to put a physical spot on it, I feel like that's part of that. And so with that focus, looking in that focus bag, like you were saying, the focus and the attention and the commitment, and yes, the emotion, because that's a part of it, I feel.
It's the propellant, really.
Right.
Well, yeah, and or the drag.
Right. Exactly.
So each one of those words that I talked about, they, judgment, trust, all those kinds of things, I can list them again, but they all have an energetic frequency to it, and they all have a that frequency has a complementary emotional component, which has a frequency. So you can be, layering on top of it. You can also be going a push me, pull you kind of a thing. You can just be a pulling, no, don't do that. No, I don't want fantastic. No, I like it where it sucks down here. So, so one way to play with it is you could pick an overall sense. You could pick your, fun vision that someone has, or a dream you've had, or something you'd like to do, like to see what feels like the new earth to you. And, you can start with playing it that way. Now, I will add one programming note. I want to call it something a little bit different. Maybe it's a programming note. This is how we do this energetic frequency caveat to that. And that is, if when you're looking at that, what is the predominant energy, frequency, vibrational resonance that you're carrying of that dream? Is it a service to self or service to others? Mm-hmm. Predominant frequency. Is it a expansive from your soul's perspective frequency, or is it from you as the little me, the little being frequency? Because those are two very different things. And if it's the second one, if it's the little me, just for call it something, then you'll need to notice that, feel into that, and work with that, integrate that, because those are blueprints, we'll call them. That will not come to fruition, that will not be able to materialize in the new earth. So that goes with the building the new earth. This is how we do this, and we need to have the stuff which the new earth is made of, and that is all of the higher, more expansive predominant frequency vibration. So that would be the first step. If you want to look at steps, you could look at something that maybe is here right now that you don't like, and if your first reaction is to go, well, we have to fix that, okay, as we've talked about many times, and that's a frequency vibration. So look at that, integrate that, because it's an inside job. So you start with you first. Yeah. So, I see. No fixing required, because that's not building, that's fixing. Right. And that's something, you're fixing something that's down in the lower vibration and the much denser frequency, so it can't ever get here.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lisa.
I was just going to say, and not only are we building new things, we're building in new ways with new tools and new techniques. there really isn't anything, truly anything at this point that we are accustomed to doing or that we were doing that will pull forward into this new. It's completely new from the foundation all the way up.
I'm in agreement. There was something though that you said, BZ. I didn't want to skip past because there was at least a couple of folks that I don't think quite picked up exactly, because I heard a few things. When you said that, you know, if there's a feeling of wanting to fix something, that's a predominant frequency vibration that you might want to look at. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a really big point, that I know that a lot of folks, for whatever their own reasons are, feel that it's punitive when they hear this.
What's punitive?
But, well, the whole idea that it's not on the outside, it's an inside job. That if there's crap going on, look within, right? Because it's all emanating from within. Everything in my immediate vicinity and everything I'm doing, period, is emerging from within me. I've created it all, and it's out here.
So let's play with this.
Now, yes.
Let's play with this for a minute. So, you, if you would play with, because you're hearing them and feeling into that. So play with the beings who are asking that, and give me you as they sense of what, with a little bit more specificity, is punitive. What and what is. And
okay, because maybe this is just my own. Maybe this is not theirs. There is a tendency in some groups, okay? I'm thinking religion for the most part. You know, everyone has come across at least one that says that, you know, well, if it didn't work for you, you're doing something wrong. It's something within you. You got
okay. So how does that? Okay. So how does that relate to what we're talking about here?
Because it's the same thing. We're saying the same thing.
I'm not saying the same thing as what a religion's saying. So
no. I mean, okay. Let me see.
Let me be very clear.
No. That's not what I mean. I know you're not. That's not what I mean. Okay. I felt it. I know I did, and I don't know who I'm feeling or anything else. But
what I'm trying to, I'll play with it, but I will need to get clear what the punitive part is. Is the punitive part because of the fact that it's an inside job, that when I say that, I'm saying that you're incredibly powerful and unlimited and amazing and can build us. Is that punitive?
No, I'm in agreement.
Well, if that's punitive, then the rest is easy, because if that's punitive, you're already, the sky is nowhere near the limit. So
perhaps I'm not saying it properly.
Well, okay, but I'm not getting it, so.
Yeah, I can tell. Okay, so, and like I said, I know what I heard and what I'm feeling. I'm not explaining it properly.
Lisa, can you help me out?
What's that?
What's the part that's punitive? The inside job, but I don't getting that.
No, I'm not either. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay, now there have been times. Okay, yes, the biggest one I can think of, the biggest example I can think of, is somebody goes to a faith healer, and they didn't get healed, and it's because you didn't have faith. Okay.
Why are you comparing to what I'm playing with?
I said that was the best example I could think of. Okay, well, it
sucks, so let's do another one. I'm sorry.
Well, but Actually, I like that one. I'll tell you why. Because the truth of it is, because the truth of it is, it's kind of the same thing. You're either going to believe in yourself or you're not. No? I'm either going to step into who the hell I think I am or I'm not. So I feel like, okay, this is what it is. The folks that feel it's punitive haven't taken responsibility for all of their actions. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. It is an inside job. It is an inside job. And if shit's not going your way, you got something to do with that.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And folks don't like that because it does sound punitive because they haven't done the inside job. I include myself in on this.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to get a...
Okay, see,
I'm still stuck on the faith healer, and I'm off on why that wouldn't at all be related. It's kind of like the IRS or the other. I'm sorry. So
I like the. I think neutral.
No, I've let that go. It was a terrible analogy from my perspective. I let it go.
Yes, it was a terrible analogy. It was a terrible analogy.
I'm sorry. I'm off in the weeds in the mission.
Oops.
Okay, so it was a terrible analogy.
Okay.
I don't have.
Back to punitive. I got it. All right.
Sips water.
Sips water. Yes.
So that's interesting. Okay. So if I'm getting this correct in this kind of example,
okay, really sorry, poor example.
No, and I'm skipping that, but now I'm trying to get to the meat of this example.
We're moving along.
Yeah. So
okay.
This is how we do this in the fantastical. But if there's weights and judgment and stuff in there, you need to look at those and address that integration. Okay, and that's when then the question of, because I believe I mentioned it was an inside job, so we were the ones responsible for those different things. Right. And you said, well, I'm going to skip most of what you said, and you he's still out there in the tent.
Oh, this is fun.
I'm sorry. I've had it.
My friends, I'm not sure I'll keep them.
And you said that there are a bunch of people who feel it's punitive. Okay, so cool. I want to play with that. Not with you. I want to play with that.
Not with you. I don't want to play with you.
Okay. Is it punitive for me to tell you that you're not small? Is it punitive for you to feel into there are different possibilities for you to look at, and one of them is that you're not small? These are kind of rhetorical questions for a moment.
Right.
In fact, you are not only not small, you are unlimited. And so hold that for a minute and go back to your playing field just a little earthling. And you play a game. There's some game that you really like to play. It could be a sport game. It could be a strategy game. You really like to play that game. Maybe it's a make-up game, because even adults make up games. It's fun stuff, okay? Mm-hmm. And you're thinking of the different, it's kind of, maybe, I don't know why this came to mind, but you're taking, the board game Clue, and you're kind of reenacting it. Maybe they have weekends where you go, okay, so you're kind of thinking of these different things of who done it, how can be creative and all this kind of stuff. And you do these different things where, you really get into maybe the costumes or the scene set or whatever. And when you're doing that and you're playing that and you're creating that, right, it's realistic and you're going for that realism, you're going for all that experience. And so stop for a minute, you hold that for a minute, and I feel like, are you being punitive to yourself when you're having fun doing that?
No.
Okay, so those are good analogies for some of what we're doing as creator beings, because we're not small. In fact, we're so not small that we are unlimited. And so when there is something, the way I hold it, that's going on in my life that that part of me does not like, and I'm thinking, okay, right? I look to myself, because I'm really happy if I can look to myself when the world is fucked up and going to hell in a handbasket, excuse my French, because if I got to look to somebody else, I'm in deep doo-doo, really deep, big piles of it. If I look to myself, then I can change that. I can control that. Same as when, it's sublimely delicious. So now this is from someone who could relay chapter and verse. Some are pretty boring, chapters and verse, of incredible different things that, I created out there. Some were delicious, some were horrific, all sorts of things. So it's not like, my life has been, because I heard someone say, well, you got it easy, you've got a job, you got this. Well, I got a lot of stuff. But I created all of it. And I came,
And they take responsibility and liability for all of it.
Yes. Was that always easy? Absolutely not. It was excruciatingly difficult. Yeah. And did I have to go through the process and look at me? Yeah. So to get back to what we're talking about. So the idea that, checking the ballast, checking the judgment, checking my commitment, checking what it is that I want to look at and play with, because I'm creating something, and this is, I'm building the new, and this is how I do this. Well, this is how I do this, because this is how I got me to where I am right now and all the things that I can play with. Mm-hmm. And so now it's just more of it, and it's bigger at it, and the energies are such that I'm not slogging through all the lower energies, and it's fun because there's a lot more people to play with out there, because they're not really loud anymore, because they're starting to wake up. I'm sorry, I must be tired because I'm being dramatic about this, but and I think maybe on purpose, because it's time to really look at these things. That if you say that, using the analogy of and the metaphor of in you're zooming off in your hot air balloon to build a new earth, and you've got to check, are you weighted properly, and do you have judgment holding you down? If that strikes you as punitive, then there is integration to do, because you are the master of all that you do, and you are the creator of all that you do. And here's something. Yeah, here's something. So, what, to go back to the thinking of a game that you play with, it's hard. It's really, really hard when you're in a space and a place and you're uncertain and you're used to, maybe you're either used to having someone always tell you what to do, or society has always told you what to do, or you kind of follow along in the groove, or maybe you bought the bright, shiny, ladders or whatever it was to climb, and so you kind of saw that, and you were determined, and you had a thought of process how you did it. So it's really hard when you're realizing that all of that is not so. And when you're looking at that, it's also hard to take a step to the side. Okay, so you take a step, you're actually moving yourself so you can have a different perspective as well as broadening your perspective. That before you came to the planet and you were in a space and a knowing and a remembering, which you will actually, as you're building and doing all this, because you're embodying all of you, you will move light years beyond where you were before you came to this planet, just so you know. So building the new earth, and this is how you do it, right? That dance and all that kind of fun. This, which is, you could say on the other side of what we're talking about.
Right.
Okay, so this being that is you, or me, I'll use me, is light years ahead of where this being was, that was me, and this represents my being before I came on this planet. So grok that for a moment, right?
Wow.
So back to this being. So I'm looking at and I'm setting up different things and stuff. So remember the person who you're out playing with friends and you've got this whole, I'm just going to use this as a metaphor, the whole clue game, but it's not on a game board. It's, it's in an actual physical place and you're making a whole weekend of it. And you're just using the clue as a guideline, but you don't have to have, what was it, Mr. Pumpernickel with the mustard stick and, all that kind of stuff. You can have your own character, right? But it's that kind of idea, right? You're coming up with creative, you're banking, stretching.
Mr. Pumpernickel. Did you say a mustard stick? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, because I started laughing a little while ago when you moved away from the camera, because all I could see was Grover and how he was doing near and far. I'm sorry.
Well, that's better than the guy in the tent. So I'll go with that.
I'm sorry.
Hey, I'm trying to be serious here about creator being.
I know.
Okay. So we're over here with the Grover thing, so we can get different perspective. and actually, we're far. So we're far. We've got a broader, far, more expansive perspective. And we're thinking about this, so that you could use the metaphor of the whole weekend that you're on with your friends and you're playing this game, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's you over here doing this. So put you over here before you come to this planet and all of these things. Because you here, right, know what you're about. You're not small. And you want to expand and learn and play and experience and create. And these are, from my creator being this, play is how you do all of this kind of stuff. So when you're down here ensconced in the smallness of it, because that's, part of what you're playing, you obviously forget that. And each of us have different moments where the light bulb goes on a little bit or a lot, or it stays on completely and is, oh, wow, cool, okay, cool, right? And sometimes it's just a flicker, and then we go back to where we are, ensconced in whatever part of this we were doing. So the question that I'm wanting to pose, giving that setup, is when you're down here and you say that's punitive, you're insulting yourself.
Hmm.
I'm in agreement.
When you're down here and you're saying about, looking at the bowels, about checking things, you're limiting yourself when you say it's punitive. You're not loving yourself when you say it's punitive. You're not valuing yourself when you say it's punitive.
Mm-hmm.
You're not appreciating yourself when you say it's punitive. Okay, near. And when you get near to yourself, right, in whatever size that you feel at that moment, and it may be, yeah, it's punitive, right? That's cool. And you play with it. So you play with feeling into it. You could play with being pissed off about it. You could play with, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard of. Well, I don't do it, right? But feel into it while you're doing it. And all sorts of things will slough off, bubble to the top, percolate up. You'll notice different things. You'll remember, a snippet of conversation, dialogue in a different part of your life or something that happened. And what all of that is that's coming is actually all of that smallness is burning off. And some, okay, I'm going to put that aside for a minute. So one of the reasons, one of the characteristics of that, well, that's punitive, like, well, my life sucks right now, and you're saying it's my fault, but they did it, and they did it, and they did it, and they did it, and they did it to me, and you don't understand. So from a small, limited perspective, you're absolutely right. From a linear perspective, you're spot on. Different things. You had choices and decisions that you made from a linear level. And that's part of, you could walk across the street, not look either way, traffic is flying, and the bus runs you over, and it's his fault. Well, yeah, it's a big bus, and you're little, and he ran you over, and he was driving the bus, and the bus meets person, and it gets smushed. So, okay, there could be, from the velocity and the trajectory, the smush, fault, okay. Except that no one forced you to go across the street. No, I use that it's kind of a rough analogy metaphor, because most people will look at that and say, well, they weren't paying attention. They weren't noticing. They weren't actively engaged in what they were doing, which was walking, across the street. Well, okay, so now hang on. All of a sudden, that sounds like a better metaphor.
Well,
but we're not small, so it's not punitive.
Well, yeah, and you in that particular example, you gave the exact reason. It was whose responsibility to watch where they're walking. I guess that's what I meant, why I brought that up when I heard the question or heard the whatever it was, is that
please don't mention the guy out there, because I finally got him to go away.
No, I don't intend to. I don't intend to. The question or the statement or whatever it was that I heard, I brought it up because it smacks of, again, the victim or needing to blame someone else and not taking responsibility, full 100% responsibility, accountability, liability for one's own being.
Right.
And it is each being's responsibility to do that, look within and see, if crap's not working in around one, I guess That's for me. Actually.
Well, I would play with it a little differently.
Okay.
Although I don't disagree with anything that you said.
Okay.
But I'll play with it the way that I played with it for me. Because the way you explained it back when I had one or two beings who said it, I wanted them to take him and have him not pay attention and walk right in front of the bus. That would have been good. I was down on my knees, literally down on my knees, tears streaming down my face, probably snot running out of my nose. And why is this happening? How can this really hurts to put myself back here, but how can this be happening? What did I do to deserve this? How could they do this to me? And lots of other stuff coming with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to grasp the one. It was a spark. There was a spark of love, a spark of an ignition spark in the depths of the cesspool that was me at that moment. That sparked and that caught just a bit. And I looked at it and I thought, well, this sucks, so I'm going to play with that for a moment. Because why not? I mean, I can always go back to right here. It's not going anywhere, obviously.
That's always it.
And it wasn't all at once. But in that moment, it illuminated, literally, figuratively, in my heart, in my mind, in my linear physical being, because my soul was right there with me. It illuminated a small piece of the cesspool. And I was asked to honestly look. Nobody else was around, just me and the cesspool. To honestly look at that little tiny sliver of it. And would I describe, in an honest, specific, and as detailed as I could way, who orchestrated, who pulled the strings? Because remember, my life was a cesspool, and I asked for, why is this happening? I was down on my knees, and okay. And so I was having this conversation. I mean, you can hear the drip, into the things and the clanging and the pipes. I mean, think of any movie. I mean, I had it all. And literally and figuratively out there, it was. So this is where I'm saying about the difference on the way that I would flip, that you're responsible, 100% responsible. Great. The question that was asked to me was, would I look at this one little piece and be open and honest and give a description and details about what orchestrated that. How did those things come together and unfold? And I know, because it was phrased that way, and since I was already all about, the cesspool, and okay, I was going to find the cesspool villain for that little piece of cesspool, because it sure as hell wasn't me, right? And I don't remember exactly what that piece was. It doesn't matter. And even if I did, I probably wouldn't say, simply because then it's my metaphor, not yours. Whoever the yours are. But I did. I gave an honest, I agreed. I gave my word. And that was a big step right there. I gave my word. I gave my word to do it, however long it took. Could have been hundreds of years, but I gave my word. And as I looked at it, I could see just for that piece, and I think it may have taken me a day or so. And I remember being fascinated, absolutely fascinated. Remember, I really haven't gotten literally off my knees yet. I spent most of the day doing this in really heart-wrenching, from a linear perspective, trauma, drama, misery. And I remember being fascinated at when I just played with that. It was kind of like, my little piece of misery to keep me preoccupied from my bigger pieces of misery. And I could see and notice, and again, from a very linear way, kind of construct and put together the steps and stages of how it unfolded. And it was amazing to me that I was the orchestrator of it. But that wasn't the revelation. That wasn't the gobsmacking thing. To me, the gobsmacking thing was to see how incredibly amazing that it was me doing it. And that when I uncovered that, discovered that, dug into that, I was mesmerized by it. I mean, this was, okay, you guys got to hold on, the whole dripping the sewer, the rats, the whole thing. I got to look it over here, because this is, and I kid you not, I was fascinated by it. Because in revealing that to myself, I could see all the things that it had done for me, given me, shown me, provided for me, opened up for me. And I thought, well, how can that be? You're acting like this was a good thing. This is a piece of shit. What the hell is the matter with you? Like, you're daft. You got sewer water in your ear or something. I mean, this is how I talk to myself and my soul and the Holy Spirit. So, it's, if someone thinks it's pious in church, like, no, I'm a New Yorker, so no. I was riveted. I didn't want to put this story down. Has anything else changed in my life? Has, the snot and tears? No. In fact, I'm sure there were some things that came in that, true, that I'd take a moment because they got worse or something. And I'm dead serious. But that spark, that little spark, set me on the path to realize things. And, were there other quasi somewhat related sewers that I built? You bet. Yeah. But I kept always going back to, I gave my word. And I realized that the word wasn't just for that spark, it was for all of them. And there was nothing punitive about it. It was magical. It was empowering. It was unstoppable. And the it was me. Now that took a lot of getting used to. Because, you know, I was really good at the small, and you know, that took a lot. But didn't diminish it in any way. And what I will add in right here, that when I was playing in my cesspools, yeah, it was a long time ago. And the energies were very, very different. I was very different. I was really good, really good. I mean, I was amazingly spectacular at being small. Because I had been programmed and trained and reinforced, trained, we'll leave it that way, at how to be small. But now, if I had to do, if that was me now, well, it'd be a whole different thing. But the reason I bring this up is the energies now are such, they're so supportive, because you have to work really, really, really hard to stay small now. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
And where before it was the other, other way around. So my question to share what I ask myself, can you look around at something and will you give an honest to yourself? And this has nothing to do with anybody else. This is why it's in the subject. It's only you. It's only you. And when you and you doesn't have to take years and hours and days. It can take a nanosecond. And you may have a little bit here you polish off or clean up, or there's a little swamp gunk here, or whatever it is, cesspool stuff, and but you play with it and you work at it, and it can take a long time. It can take however long that you want it to take.
Okay.
And if you had a plan coming in, remember we talked about, you're here now, or no, going to be, and this is where you were before you came in, right? And you had a plan and you wanted to go these things, and your plan was to take it even further, the cesspoolness, and even further. And I know that my plan was to take that particular cesspool I was in, was to go even further, because that was a good cesspool, and man, we're going to do one better than that. But I saw the spark. I caught the spark. And I rewrote the plan right then and there. So we're doing that all the time. And if you want to play that as punitive, okay, that's great. I mean, I truly mean that, because that's giving you something that you want to play with, that you want to explore, that you, in your own self, want to do that. And don't let anybody tell you that in that way, shape, or form is wrong, because it's your choice. That's the other thing. We've been in this false construct where part of the name of the game is to remove the choices, or it's actually to whittle the choices, so the choices are always pushing us in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're in the habit of going in that way. And then when you're hearing or partaking in a conversation, and it's a much broader scope of a conversation, and someone says, well, you're the expert for you, and it's your choice, and if you want to keep going that way, you do that. You apps don't listen, don't take shit from anybody. You do that because you choose to do that. We're not used to that. Well, wait a minute, that's a choice. So, it's seemingly difficult. It can feel excruciatingly difficult. But it's really not, because a lot of that is just the habit. And
yes, the habit and the program and the conditioning and all of that together. It's all.
And mostly the fear. Do you know what the fear really is? To touch and behold the magnificence of who we are. Scares, for a lot of people, when they're first starting to think about it, it scares the living bejesus out of you.
Yeah, no, I feel that's true too. As yeah, as I have started to experience different things, I've had those moments of well, everything from standing on the edge of forever to panic. Yeah. And a lot of those in between too. So, and I guess I pulled that out incorrectly, but I'm glad we didn't skip over it, because I still feel like there's, that was an important thing to come forward. It was not quite.
I read a lot of great stuff, I think.
What's that? Say that again, Lisa.
I think it brought out a lot of great stuff. I think this was a fabulous conversation, and it went just the way it was supposed to. It was perfect.
So we'll do a part 2 of how we do this.
Yeah. Won't that be nice?
Well, in truth,
it'll be fun too. It's a big conversation.
Well,
and
yeah,
we could take all the time that it requires, or that we wish to, because we are creating this.
No, that's real. The thing is, that is part of how we do this, though, is we have to weed through all of that. Because it goes into all of stepping into, for me, it has gone into, okay, so I think I just got some of why I brought that up. Absolutely. There's been some, we've talked about some of this between the three of us before, and maybe in some other videos, I'm not sure, but you know how we've talked before about, well, there's, within almost everything, there's a nugget of truth, and there's all kinds of stuff that goes out and then it gets twisted or, spun in some way. And I think that part of that, with the punitive portion of that, stems from that. There's been a lot of, oh, well, of course they want you to have compassion, because they don't want, it's being spun. Don't, they want you to sit down and behave and be good little boys and girls. Don't come up with compassion. Don't come up with, it's the same energetic for me. And it's probably a different thing, but for some reason that came up. But that is part of it. It's part of that, how we do this, being able to look at that, and if it comes up for you, like you said, looking in those bags and those choices, and not, I guess the reason it came up is that feeling like, okay, no, that's not it either. Okay, never mind, because something's very jumbled at the moment. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I'll just say I might just say one thing to what you just said, and then I'd like to finish more on this for a minute. So, when the ruse of, can't have compassion, that kind of stuff. Okay, great. But we have come to this point. This is the 7th time. and completely annihilated ourselves from the existence and including the planet and everything, because we didn't have compassion. And we've grown enough, we've expanded enough, we've widened out the aperture enough now to have that in some very, very strong, in some kind of strong, in some a whiff of it, and in some not much, but the collective has it. So I just want to put that footnote on that. And if you're at all curious about that, go feel into research out there, because there's, so that's enough on that.
I'm in agreement with you on that. It's just that that's been one of the bigger ones that I saw a while ago now, of course, but yeah.
On this, if people are moved to play with a couple things as their play work after this, when you're thinking of something that you want to create, so how to build, right? How to build blank, right? So insert something in there and feel into your reactions that come up from that. And if some of them are, well, that's not possible, or you can't do that, or well, we need that, or we got to have this, or whatever, then play with those. You could play with the whole phrase. You could feel into and play with the energetics of that phrase. You could ask who's saying that, whose voice is that, who's giving you that storyline, company line, party line. So that would be really fun and helpful for people just to do that. And another one, we could even do some of that on camera. Hey, we'll do that on camera if y'all want to write some things down that came up for you, and we'll play with them. You don't have to come on camera if you don't want to. That's cool, but we'll do that. I'm up for that. Another thing to play with is take it could, if you have, take a dream. I don't mean the sleeping kind, but I've got this dream. I'd really love to do this. I have this vision of doing X. I'm imagineering creating this. Okay, so take one of those things. Just take one, and if it's really, really big, then just take a piece of it and play with that for a moment. Someone's come and whatever your metaphor is, it could be a crystal, it could be a ball, it could be, you draw something and you put it on cardboard so it's more three-dimensional, whatever it works for you. And however you want to do this, you can do this in meditation, you can, whatever works for you. So different tools work for you. I would do this with my eyes wide open, but that's just me. So you're having somebody and they bring whatever you've used as your physical metaphor for this part of your dream, and they put it on your table right there, and they say, it's right here. So take a few moments and look at it, feel it, because this is not somebody else's dream, this is yours. So far, it should be pretty easy, right? Except when someone's got it in their hand and give it to you, you might have some fear that comes up right there, puts it on the table. Okay, well, you play with that. So now you play with that. Now you're noticing it. And ask yourself, am I ready to bring that into materialized form. If it's anything other than, yes, hot damn, let's do it now, you got some stuff to play with. Because those are all in those bags of ballast, of pulling force that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Because no one said, they put it on the table, it's yours, but you got to have $100,000 or $2 million or $15 million or this, that, and the other thing. It's right here. It's a gift. It's right there. You brought it to yourself. And this kind of play will do a bunch of things for you. Start by asking yourself, like I did, or did for me, with that spark. Could I play with that question? Are you ready to bring this into materialized form? Could you do that? Could you conceive of doing that? Could you conceive of answering that question in the affirmative? Would you?
Would I answer the question?
Would you honestly answer that question?
Oh, yes. Yes, I am. Well, I have been.
So those are commitments that you're making. That's what I'm breaking them down really simple steps, because we tend to go, well, I want this, but I can't. And we don't realize this is where the 100% responsible, liable, and accountable is, because this is where the gumming up happens.
I don't know what happened to your mic, but all of a sudden you went away again.
This is where the gumming up happens. People say, well, but that's not that you don't understand. Yeah, I do. Actually, I really do. So start with the small things first and the commitment. And it's just between you and you. Can you commit to you for what this is? And then, build on that from there and play with that. And your level of open-hearted willingness to commit to just those questions and then follow through is going to show you.
The being willing to commit to you is really the first huge step, I feel. It certainly was for me. Being willing to commit to me and open to, just open, period. For me, had to be just open, period. Open to being able to hear a thing, not just my own voice, but those that bravely stepped into the circus with me, so to speak, and have been there, and realizing that not everything is not anything is personal. It's all, if it comes out of, like Lisa and I, if I'm working on something, she is really very great at holding space for me and realizing that I'm working on something. It has nothing to do with her. But it's easy when you're not in that, if you're, because I'm walking out of that situation myself. If and like, it should be no surprise to anybody that this is how I work stuff out, talking. Okay. And that's how I have to hear myself, I suppose. I don't know what that's about, but apparently that's okay, because that's my thing. And I have found people that are okay with that. And, but not taking anything, realizing that it's about me and not her or the situation or anything else. And holding that space without getting all up in the feels and getting all butthurt about something that don't have nothing to do with you, and that sort of thing. So I've been very fortunate at that when it comes to that.
Can I stop you for a second and point out something?
Sure.
In that moment, you both are being responsible, response-able to what has come into your field.
I'm glad you pointed it out in just that specific term, because I've heard you say that before, but for some reason that just clicked in for me just now. I mean, I've done a lot of work on that. When I first started being open, I was trying to watch because I was having reactions rather than responses. And so the way that you just put that, it was very helpful to me. It's just like something really clicked in that.
Well, you all painted a word picture, and I just kicked the colors up a notch. That's all. That's how we all do this. That's what the questions that I just talked about, with this thing, right? So on the one hand, you could say, well, that's not going to do jack. That's not going to get me that thing. Yeah, you're right. It won't, because until you're willing to do that, you're not response able. You're not able to give a response, to give from you to what you want. I'm not talking about what somebody else wants. I'm not talking about what somebody else is telling you to do. I'm talking about you.
Yeah.
Are you accountable to yourself? Can you count on you? Can you count on you?
Well, until just recently, my answer was no. And some days it's a bit debatable, but I'm working on it.
Within the last 72 hours, I decided that my only guru is me, right? And I've known this as a concept, and I've entertained it as a vacation getaway. But I've moved in full-time. I'm a full-time resident of Trusting Myself. And it's really freeing and liberating immediately upon doing that, because even if there's mistakes made or whatever, I've decided that that's really an exciting opportunity. It's an opportunity to realize that I am dedicated to myself. And also, the more that I do that, the more it's showing me something. I'm really noticing the difference now between when I'm open, my heart is open, and my larger being is in control, and everything. I'm in the flow, and I really am proud of every creation that I'm creating. It's happening more and more because I allowed myself to make a mistake. I loved myself enough to know that it'll be okay. Mistakes or boo-boos, I'm learning how to fly, and so sometimes I may fall down, and that's okay too, because when I learned how to ride my bike, I remember falling down a lot, but then at the end there, I was doing tricks, standing on the seat and everything. So those were not things that I did the first go round. It was with practice, and so it is the practice of trusting myself that is breeding more trust of myself. And really the proof has been in the pudding all along. And noticing that has changed everything for me.
Yeah, it's been a big couple of weeks actually around here.
Yeah. Especially the last 72 hours for me personally. So I'll just throw that in.
I'm thrilled you've moved in, Lisa. I have to say, I'm really thrilled.
Thank you.
Describes moving something from an intellectual exercise to a core knowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess we are going to have to do a part 2 on this one because, you know, although that felt like a very important, I hope it wasn't too sidetracky, but it felt like a very important portion that needed to be brought out and really looked at, because it's like a foundational part of that building of the new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can't get to the building of the new if you're still hanging on to
So is this building the new? This is how we do this, a primer?
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes
turn into a pre-primer, sure.
Yeah, it's probably actually a pre-primer, but you know.
I can feel it growing as we sit here.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, is there anything else that either one of you would like to add to this particular energetic envelope?
Nope.
No? Okay. Well, we will have all the usual things in all the usual places for everyone. And I guess we'll see you next time.
Much love.